The stars looked different from this part of the galaxy. Ziktar pressed his four-fingered hand against the clear viewing panel of the scout vessel Peaceful Discovery. For 60 years, the Azurian exploration team had traveled through the darkness of space, searching for other intelligent life. Many had begun to lose hope. "Chief Observer, we have detected unusual signals," said Kelna, the science officer. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light of the bridge. Ziktar moved quickly to her station. "Show me." On the screen, a pattern of radio waves appeared. They were not random. They showed clear signs of intelligent design. The entire bridge crew fell silent. "Where are they coming from?" Ziktar asked, his voice barely a whisper. "A small solar system, just half a light year away. The signals are coming from the third planet." For the Azurians, this moment was historic. In all their centuries of space exploration, they had never found another species that had developed technology. Their civilization had evolved without predators, without war, without the need for weapons. Their journey through space had been driven only by curiosity. "Set course immediately," Ziktar ordered. "Follow all first contact protocols." The Peaceful Discovery changed direction, its quiet engines pushing it toward the source of the signals. As they got closer, they began to receive more information. Images, sounds, strange creatures with only 2 arms and 2 legs walking on the surface of a blue and green world. "They are so different from us," said one of the junior crew members. "But they build things, like we do," Ziktar replied. "They think. They create. We are more alike than different." When they reached the edge of the solar system, they slowed down. According to their protocols, they would not approach the home planet directly. Instead, they would send a small probe to establish first contact. "The probe is ready, Chief Observer," Kelna reported. "Send it forth," Ziktar said. "Let us meet our new friends." The probe, a small silver sphere with the symbols of peace and friendship from 100 different Azurian cultures, detached from the main ship. It carried simple mathematical formulas, music, and images that would help establish a common language. It moved slowly toward the inner planets. But the probe never completed its mission. Far away on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, alarms were sounding. "Captain, we have an unidentified object approaching from beyond Neptune," reported Lieutenant Kate Riley, the weapons officer. Her fingers moved quickly across her control panel. Captain William Carter stood up from his chair. At 55 years old, he had spent more than half his life in space, protecting Earth and its colonies. The USS Vengeance was conducting routine patrol exercises in the outer solar system, making sure no threats could reach Earth. "Show me," he ordered. On the main screen, a small object appeared. It was unlike any ship design they had ever seen. "No match in our database, sir," said Lieutenant Commander Samuel Wright, studying the readings. "It's small, about the size of a shuttle. No visible weapons, but it's moving under its own power and heading directly for Earth." "Try to make contact," Carter ordered. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez, the communications officer, sent standard greeting messages on all frequencies. "No response, Captain. It's ignoring us completely." Carter frowned. In his 30 years of service, he had learned that unknown things in space were often dangerous. Earth had fought 3 wars with other human colonies in the last century. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. "It could be a probe from the Europa separatists," suggested. "Right. Maybe a new type of stealth weapon." Carter nodded. The colony on Europa had been making threats again. "Continue trying to make contact. Lieutenant Riley, ready defensive systems, but do not fire unless I give the order." The mysterious object continued its approach, silent and unresponsive. On the Azurian ship, Ziktar and his crew watched their screens with growing excitement. Their probe had detected a large object in the system, clearly artificial. First contact would happen even sooner than expected. "The object is enormous," Kelna reported. "It appears to be a ship of some kind." Ziktar felt his heart's race. Another spacefaring species, this was beyond their wildest hopes. Then something strange happened. The large object began to emit energy readings that the Azurians didn't understand. "What are they doing?" Ziktar asked. Before anyone could answer, a bright flash appeared on their screens. When it cleared, their probe was gone. The probe, it's been destroyed, Kelna said in shock. The concept was almost impossible for the Azurians to process. In their entire history, they had never encountered a species that would destroy something unknown instead of trying to understand it. Back on the USS Vengeance, Riley reported. Target neutralized, Captain. Good work, Carter said. Any debris worth examining? Nothing significant, sir. Whatever it wasn't very robust. Carter nodded and opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Nelson, this is Captain Carter. We've intercepted and destroyed an unidentified object approaching Earth, possible Europa separatist technology. Requesting additional ships to patrol the area in case there are more. Admiral Gregory Nelson's face appeared on the screen. He was in his office at Earth Command, surrounded by maps and status reports. Understood, Captain. I'm dispatching the USS Intrepid and 2 support vessels to your location. Hold position and continue scanning. Yes, sir, Carter replied. On the Azurian ship, panic had set in. The crew stared at their screens in horror. They destroyed our probe without any attempt at communication, one crew member said. What kind of beings would do such a thing? Ziktar was trying to make sense of what had happened. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding. Perhaps they thought we meant them harm. We should leave immediately, another crew member suggested. If they treat a small probe this way, what would they do to our ship? But Ziktar shook his head. We came to learn about other life forms. Now we must learn about these humans. We will keep our distance and observe. Perhaps we can still find a way to communicate peacefully. I'm detecting energy patterns consistent with weapon systems, Kelena reported, her voice trembling. The human ship appears to be built primarily for war. The concept was alien to the Azurians. Their own ship had been designed for scientific exploration. It had no weapons, only shields for protection against natural hazards like asteroids. Begin full observation protocols, Ziktar ordered. We need to understand what kind of species we have encountered. As the Azurians watched from a safe distance, the USS Vengeance continued its patrol. Neither Captain Carter nor his crew realized that they had just made first contact with an alien species, and neither side understood how differently they saw the universe. The Azurian ship moved carefully to the dark side of one of the outer planets. From this hidden spot, they could watch the humans without being seen. Ziktar ordered special monitoring equipment to be deployed. If they couldn't communicate with the humans directly, they would learn by watching. Keep our energy signatures as low as possible, Ziktar told his crew. We must not be detected again. Kelna, the science officer, began collecting data on the human warship. Her eyes widened as the readings came in. Chief Observer, you need to see this, she said. Ziktar moved to her station and looked at the screen. The details of the human ship were becoming clear, and they were frightening. Are these measurements correct? He asked. Yes, Kelna replied. The human vessel is over 2 kilometers in length. Its hull is made of materials we've never seen before, and the energy readings suggest weapons that could— She paused, the concept almost too terrible to say. That could destroy entire planets. The bridge fell silent. In Azurian history, no one had ever built weapons to harm others. There, technology had developed to heal, to grow, to explore. The idea of a ship built to cause destruction was deeply disturbing. Why would they need such power? Asked a young crew member. Perhaps they face terrible enemies, Ziktar suggested. Or perhaps they are the terrible enemies that others face. As they watched, 3 more human ships appeared near the first one. The Azurians felt their fear grow. On the bridge of the USS Vengeance, Captain Carter welcomed the arrival of reinforcements. The USS Intrepid, commanded by Diane Powell, took up position nearby. 2 smaller support vessels, the Swift and the Defender, completed the formation. Good to see you, Diane, Carter said over the communication channel. Commander Powell nodded on the screen. She was younger than Carter, with short brown hair and a serious expression. Admiral Nelson is concerned about your encounter with the unknown object. Any sign of others? Nothing yet, Carter replied. But Lieutenant Martinez has detected some strange energy readings near Saturn. We were about to investigate. Olivia Martinez, the communications officer, was hunched over her equipment. Something about the readings bothered her. They weren't like anything she had seen from Europa separatists or other human groups. "Captain," she said, "these energy patterns are unusual. They don't match any known human technology." Lieutenant Commander Wright moved to her station. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" Martinez shook her head. "The pattern is too regular. Something or someone is out there watching us." Captain Carter frowned. "Lieutenant Riley, ready weapons systems. Commander Wright, prepare a scouting team. Let's find out what's hiding near Saturn." On the Azurian ship, alarms suddenly sounded. "The humans have detected us," one of the crew reported in panic. "They're heading this way." Ziktar felt fear grip his heart, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Maintain position, continue observations. They may simply be exploring." But as they watched, the human ships formed a pattern that even the peace-loving Azurians recognized as a battle formation. "They're preparing to attack," Kelna said, her voice trembling. The crew looked to Ziktar for guidance. His mind raced. They had no weapons to defend themselves. Their ship's shields were designed only to protect against space debris and radiation. "Power up the engines," he ordered. "If they attack, we will flee." The order caused a surge in their ship's energy systems. This surge was immediately detected by the sensitive equipment on the human vessels. On the USS Vengeance, Lieutenant Riley reported, "Captain, we're detecting a power spike from the vicinity of Saturn. Something is powering up, possibly weapons systems." Captain Carter's expression hardened. "All ships, battle stations. Lieutenant Riley, lock target as soon as it's in range." The 4 human ships accelerated towards Saturn, their weapons systems coming online. On the USS Intrepid, Commander Powell ordered her tactical officer, Lieutenant Eric Johnson, to prepare missile systems. "If it's hostile, we take it out fast," she told her crew. The Azurians watched in horror as the human ships approached. Their scanners revealed the awesome destructive power now aimed in their direction. "They will destroy us just like they destroyed the probe," one crew member cried. Ziktar made a quick decision. "Redirect all power from engines to our communication array. Broadcast on all frequencies in all formats. Send our peaceful greeting message continuously. But if we power down the engines, we cannot escape," Kelna pointed out. "If they are a rational species, they will respond to communication before they resort to violence," Ziktar said, though he was far from certain. "This is our best hope." On the USS Vengeance, the weapons systems were locked and ready to fire. Captain Carter was about to give the order when Lieutenant Martinez suddenly called out, "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the unidentified object. It's like nothing I've ever seen." "Is it a threat?" Carter asked. Martinez studied her screen. "I don't think so. It contains mathematical sequences, simple images. It reminds me of the old SETI protocols humans used to use when we were searching for alien life." Wright moved quickly to her station. "Let me see that." The bridge fell silent as Wright and Martinez examined the transmission. Finally, Wright looked up at Captain Carter. "Sir," he said slowly, "I believe we may be dealing with a non-human intelligence." The words hung in the air. In all of human history, despite centuries of searching, humanity had never encountered alien life. The possibility was both exciting and terrifying. Captain Carter pressed the communication button. "All ships, hold fire. I repeat, hold fire." The human vessels maintained their positions, weapons still locked on the Azurian ship but not firing. Carter turned to Martinez. "Can you respond to their message? Let them know we're listening?" Martinez nodded and began working on a response. She sent back simple mathematical sequences, acknowledging the communication attempt. On the Azurian ship, relief swept through the crew when they realized the humans were not attacking immediately. "They're responding," Kelna reported. "Simple acknowledgement patterns. They understand we're trying to communicate." Ziktar felt his fear begin to ease slightly. "Continue the transmission. Include visual representations of our species and our peaceful intentions." As the 2 ships exchanged simple messages, A fragile bridge began to form between two fundamentally different civilizations. The humans remained in battle formation, weapons ready, deeply suspicious. The Azurians remained frightened, completely vulnerable, hoping desperately that understanding would prevail over violence. Neither species yet realized how profoundly this meeting would change both their worlds. For 3 days, the human and Azurian ships maintained their positions near Saturn. The simple communication grew more complex as both sides learned to understand each other better. On the USS Vengeance, Lieutenant Martinez worked without rest to develop a translation system. "I think I'm starting to understand their language structure," she told Captain Carter. "It's nothing like human languages, but the mathematical foundation is similar." Captain Carter nodded. He had sent regular updates to Earth Command, and now Admiral Nelson himself was on his way to the encounter site. This was too important for regular officers to handle alone. "What have you learned about them?" Carter asked. Lieutenant Commander Wright brought up images on the main screen. They showed strange blue-skinned beings with 4 arms and large round eyes. "They call themselves Azurians," Wright explained. "According to what we can understand, they're explorers from a star system about 60 light-years away. They've been searching for other intelligent life for decades." "Are they a threat?" Carter asked. Despite the peaceful messages, he remained cautious. Humanity had fought too many wars to trust easily. "Their ship shows no signs of weapon systems," Lieutenant Riley reported. "Their defensive capabilities are minimal, just basic shields that wouldn't stop even our smallest missiles." "That could be a trick," Commander Powell suggested from the USS Intrepid. "They might have hidden weapons." Wright shook his head. "I don't think so. Everything about their messages suggests they're peaceful. They seem genuinely terrified of us." Carter frowned at this. "Terrified? Why?" "Sir," Wright said carefully, "have you considered what our ships look like to a species that has never developed weapons? The USS Vengeance alone has enough firepower to destroy a small moon. From their perspective, we must appear incredibly dangerous." On the Azurian ship, Ziktar and his crew continued their observations while maintaining communication with the humans. They had managed to translate many human terms, and what they learned troubled them deeply. "Their ship is called Vengeance," Kellner reported. "In their language, this means punishment or retribution." "Why would they name a vessel for such a concept?" a young crew member asked. Zikatar had been studying human communications intercepted from their home planet. "Their history is full of conflict," he explained. "They fight among themselves constantly. Their technology has developed through warfare." This was beyond the Azurians' understanding. Their own society had evolved through cooperation. The concept of using technology to harm others was alien to them. "Should we break contact?" one crew member suggested. "These humans might be too dangerous." Ziktar considered this but shook his head. "We came to learn. We must try to understand them, even if their ways are strange to us." A message came through from the human ship. The Azurians had learned enough of human language to understand its meaning. "Admiral Nelson of Earth Command will arrive tomorrow to establish formal contact. Please prepare representatives." "They're sending their leader," Kelna said. "This is a positive sign." Ziktar wasn't so sure. In his studies of human communications, he had learned that this admiral was a military title. The humans were sending a war leader, not a scientist or diplomat. The next day, a new ship arrived. It was smaller than the Vengeance, but clearly of the same design. The Azurians watched as it docked with the larger vessel. On the USS Vengeance, Captain Carter welcomed Admiral Nelson to the bridge. Nelson was a tall man with gray hair and a stern face. He had led Earth's forces in the last war against the Europa separatists. "What's the situation, Captain?" Nelson asked. "We've established basic communication," Carter reported. "They call themselves Azurians. They appear to be peaceful explorers." Nelson nodded. "And they've seen our defense capabilities?" "Yes, sir. They've been observing us since the incident with their probe." "Good," Nelson said. "In my experience, A clear demonstration of strength is the best foundation for peaceful relations. They need to understand that we can defend ourselves. Carter wasn't sure he agreed, but he said nothing. I've brought Dr. Alan Howard with me, Nelson continued. He's our top xenolinguist. He'll help improve communication. Dr. Howard stepped forward. He was younger than both Nelson and Carter, with kind eyes and an eager expression. I've reviewed Lieutenant Martinez's work. It's impressive. I think we can establish meaningful dialogue within hours. Excellent, Nelson said. Invite them to send representatives to the Vengeance. It's time we met these aliens face to face. On the Azurian ship, the invitation caused great debate. Enter their warship? One crew member said in horror. We would be completely at their mercy. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so already, Ziktar pointed out. We must show trust if we want to build peace. After much discussion, it was decided that Ziktar and Kelna would visit the human ship. They prepared carefully, reviewing what they had learned of human customs and language. Remember, Ziktar told Kelna as they boarded their small shuttle, show no fear. These humans respect strength. The journey to the USS Vengeance was short, but tense. As they approached, the size of the human warship became even more impressive. It dwarfed their shuttle completely. Look at the weapon ports, Kelna whispered. There are hundreds of them. Their shuttle was guided into a large bay within the Vengeance. When the doors closed behind them, both Azurians felt a moment of panic. They were now inside the most powerful weapon they had ever encountered. The shuttle door opened, and they stepped out to meet the humans. Captain Carter, Admiral Nelson, and Dr. Howard waited for them, along with several armed guards. Ziktar moved forward slowly, raising all four of his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. We come in friendship, he said in carefully practiced human speech. Admiral Nelson stepped forward. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I welcome you, Dr. Howard whispered to Carter. Their body language suggests extreme nervousness. They're terrified. Carter nodded. He could see it in the aliens' large eyes and the way they kept glancing at the armed guards. Perhaps we should dismiss the security team, he suggested quietly to Nelson. Nelson shook his head slightly. Standard protocol. We don't know enough about them yet. As the first meeting between humans and Azurians began, both sides watched each other carefully. The humans looked for any sign of threat or deception. The Azurians looked for any sign of the violence they had seen in human history. Neither species fully understood how much this moment would change the future for both of them. The meeting room on the USS Vengeance was large and plain. A long table sat in the center with chairs on both sides. Admiral Nelson, Captain Carter, and Dr. Howard sat on one side. Ziktar and Kelna sat across from them, their forearms resting. Carefully on the table, Dr. Howard spoke slowly, using simple words that the translation system could handle. We are pleased to meet your species. We have many questions about your world and your people. Ziktar nodded. The movement looked stiff and practiced, as if he had studied human gestures. We also wish to learn about humans. Our mission is to find new life and new knowledge. As they talked, Kelna used a small device to scan the room. She was recording everything for later study. The humans noticed this but said nothing. They were doing the same thing. Your ship is very large, Ziktar said. Much larger than ours. Admiral Nelson nodded. The Vengeance is one of our heavy defense vessels. Its primary mission is to protect Earth and our colonies from threats. Kelna tilted her head. Threats? From whom? There was an awkward pause. The humans looked at each other. Dr. Howard answered carefully. Humanity has had conflicts in the past. Different groups of humans have fought over resources and territory. Our ships help maintain peace by providing strong defense. This was a concept the Azurians struggled to understand. Their society had never developed the idea of using force against others. They had no word for war in their language. You fight yourselves? Ziktar asked, wanting to be sure he understood correctly. Captain Carter nodded. Our history includes many conflicts between nations, and later, between planetary colonies. The most recent was with settlers on Europa, one of the moons of our gas giant Jupiter. The Azurians were shocked by this information. The idea of members of the same species fighting each other was completely alien to them. Perhaps we should focus on more positive topics, Dr. Howard suggested, noticing the aliens' discomfort. Tell us about your world. Ziktar seemed relieved by the change of subject. He described the Azurian home planet, a world with 2 suns and 3 moons. He explained how their society worked through cooperation and shared goals. As they talked, Lieutenant Martinez entered the room. She whispered something to Captain Carter, who looked concerned. "Excuse me," Carter said, standing up. "I need to check something. Please continue." Carter followed Martinez to the bridge. "What's the problem, Lieutenant?" "Sir, we've detected unusual energy readings from the alien shuttle," Martinez reported. "It seems to be scanning our ship in detail." Lieutenant Riley was already at her weapons station. "The scans are focusing on our weapon systems, engine room, and command centers." Carter frowned. "Are they trying to find our weaknesses?" "It's possible," Wright said, "but it could also be simple curiosity. They've never seen technology like ours before." Carter thought for a moment. "Continue monitoring their scans, but take no action yet. Let's see what information they're really after." Back in the meeting room, Admiral Nelson was showing the Azurians images of Earth on a large screen. "Our planet has many different environments and cultures," he explained. Kelna studied the images with great interest. "Your world is beautiful. Do all humans live in peace now?" Admiral Nelson smiled thinly. "We have achieved stability through strength. Our defense forces ensure that conflicts are resolved through diplomacy rather than violence." Dr. Howard added, "What the Admiral means is that we've learned from our past mistakes. Humanity is working toward a more peaceful future." Ziktar seemed to relax slightly at these words. Perhaps these humans were not as violent as their history and weapons suggested. Then Captain Carter returned to the room. Behind him came Lieutenant Riley, carrying a small device. "Admiral," Carter said quietly, "we've detected the alien shuttle scanning our key systems." Riley placed the device on the table. It showed a diagram of the USS Vengeance with certain areas highlighted. "These are the areas being scanned," Riley explained. "Weapons, engines, command centers, life support." Admiral Nelson's expression hardened. He looked at the Azurians. "Why are you mapping our ship's vulnerable points?" Ziktar's large eyes blinked rapidly in confusion. "Vulnerable points? We do not understand." Kelna spoke up. "We scanned to learn. Your technology is new to us. We have never seen ships designed for fighting before." There was tension in the room now. The humans were suspicious, and the Azurians were confused by this suspicion. Dr. Howard tried to ease the situation. "Perhaps this is a cultural misunderstanding. In human history, detailed scans of military vessels would be considered a potentially hostile act." "We meant no offense," Ziktar said quickly. "We will stop the scans immediately." He pressed a button on his wrist device, and the scanning pattern on Riley's monitor disappeared. Slowly, the tension in the room decreased. Admiral Nelson nodded, accepting the explanation for now. "Let us continue our discussion," he said. "Tell us more about your exploration mission." As the meeting went on, Dr. Howard noticed something interesting. Whenever the humans mentioned their weapons or defense capabilities, the Azurians showed signs of fear. Their blue skin would pale slightly, and their breathing would quicken. When the meeting ended, the Azurians returned to their shuttle. Once alone, Ziktar and Kelna spoke quietly to each other. "Did you complete the scans?" Ziktar asked. Kelna nodded. "Yes, before they detected us. The human ship is even more powerful than we thought. The weapons they call nuclear missiles could destroy our entire homeworld, and they have many of them." "But they speak of peace," Ziktar said thoughtfully. "Peace through strength," Kelna reminded him. "They only avoid fighting because they have the power to destroy each other. It is not true peace as we understand it." As their shuttle left the USS Vengeance, both Azurians felt conflicted. The humans had been polite and seemed interested in friendship. But their ship, their history, and their whole approach to the universe was built around the ability to cause harm. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Nelson watched the alien shuttle depart. "What do you think, Admiral?" Carter asked. "Are they a threat?" Nelson shook his head slowly. "No, but they're afraid of us. And fear can be dangerous in its own way." Dr. Howard joined them at the viewing window. "We need to help them understand us better. They come from a society that never developed warfare. Our ships, our weapons, even our language must seem terrifying to them." Admiral Nelson nodded thoughtfully. "Then we need to show them why we built these ships, and why, despite our violent history, humanity is worth knowing." A week passed. The Azurian ship remained near Saturn, and daily meetings continued between the two species. As time went on, both sides began to understand each other better. The humans set up a special room for the meetings, with plants and softer lighting that seemed to make the Azurians more comfortable. Dr. Howard worked closely with Ziktar to improve their communication. He learned that the Azurian language had many words for different types of cooperation, but no words for concepts like enemy or weapon. "Your species evolved very differently from ours," Dr. Howard explained to Admiral Nelson. "They never had large predators on their world. They never needed to fight for survival. Their entire society developed through working together." Nelson nodded. "That explains their reaction to our ships. To them, we must seem like monsters." "I've invited them to a formal dinner tonight," Captain Carter said. "I think it's time we showed them more of our culture than just our military side." That evening, the USS Vengeance's dining hall was decorated with plants and artwork from Earth. The usual bright lights were dimmed to accommodate the Azurian sensitive eyes. Captain Carter had ordered his crew to wear formal dress uniforms rather than battle gear. Ziktar and Kelna arrived with 2 more members of their crew. They seemed nervous at first, but relaxed when they saw the effort the humans had made. "Welcome," Captain Carter said. "We thought it was time to show you that humans are more than just soldiers. We are explorers, artists, and scientists too." The dinner went well. The humans had prepared special food that the Azurians could eat, and Dr. Howard had taught the crew some Azurian greeting customs. For the first time, there was genuine warmth between the two groups. After dinner, Captain Carter offered to give the Azurians a tour of the ship. He wanted to show them that the Vengeance wasn't just a weapon. "This is our hydroponics bay," he explained, showing them a large room filled with plants. "We grow fresh food for long journeys. Many of these plants also help clean our air and water." Ziktar touched a leaf gently. "This is similar to systems on our ship. Life supporting life." Next, Carter took them to the medical bay. "Our doctors can treat almost any injury or illness. The same technology that helps us build weapons also helps us save lives." Dr. Howard noticed that the Azurians seemed to appreciate this part of the tour. They understood healing and helping others. But then Lieutenant Riley suggested showing them the ship's defensive systems. "They should understand how we protect ourselves," she said. Captain Carter agreed, though he wasn't sure it was a good idea. They took the Azurians to the weapons control room. Riley proudly demonstrated the ship's shield technology. "Our energy shields can protect us from asteroids, radiation, and attacks," she explained. "They're our first line of defense." On a large screen, she showed simulations of the shields deflecting various threats. The Azurians watched in silence, their expressions unreadable to the humans. "And these," Riley continued, pointing to another control panel, "are our missile guidance systems. They can hit targets with perfect accuracy from millions of kilometers away." Kelna turned to Ziktar and spoke quickly in their own language. The translation system couldn't keep up, but Dr. Howard caught words like danger and destruction. Carter realized the tour had taken a wrong turn. "Perhaps we should move on to the science labs," he suggested, but the damage was done. The Azurians had once again been reminded of the human capacity for violence. Later that night, after the Azurians had returned to their ship, Admiral Nelson called an important meeting. Representatives from Earth had been discussing what to do about this first contact situation. "Earth Command has made a decision," Nelson told Captain Carter and his senior officers. We want to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Azurians. They have technology we could benefit from, particularly in medicine and energy production. What do we offer in return? Carter asked. Protection, Nelson replied simply. Our intelligence suggests there are other species in this galaxy, and not all of them may be as peaceful as the Azurians. They need allies who can defend them. Dr. Howard frowned. Sir, with respect, I'm not sure the Azurians see our military power as a benefit. They seem frightened by it. Nelson nodded. Which is why I want you to explain it to them carefully. Help them understand that the same strength that makes us dangerous also makes us valuable friends. The next day, Admiral Nelson presented a formal treaty offer to Ziktar. The Azurians listened carefully as the terms were explained. They would share their medical and energy technology. In return, humans would provide protection and establish a no-military zone near Azurian space. We need time to consider this, Ziktar said. We must consult with our homeworld. Of course, Nelson agreed. Take all the time you need. When the Azurians were alone, they debated intensely. We cannot trust these humans, one crew member argued. Their history is full of violence. They think in terms of weapons and enemies. But they have shown us kindness too, Ziktar pointed out. They grow plants, they heal their sick, they create art and music. And they build ships that can destroy worlds, Kelna added quietly. Which is the true nature of humanity? After much discussion, Ziktar made his decision. He returned to the USS Vengeance alone to meet with Admiral Nelson. We accept your offer of friendship, Ziktar said. We will share our knowledge with humans, but we ask one thing in return. Name it, Nelson said. Teach us to understand you better. Help us see beyond our fear of your weapons. Nelson smiled and extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Ziktar reached out with one of his 4 hands and completed the human gesture of agreement. 2 days later, the Azurian ship prepared to return to its home world. They would carry news of humanity and the proposed alliance. Ziktar stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the USS Vengeance on the viewing screen. Are we doing the right thing? Kelna asked. Allying ourselves with such a dangerous species? Ziktar considered the question carefully. The humans are unlike any beings we have ever encountered. They create and destroy. They fight and heal. They terrify and inspire. I believe we have much to learn from each other. As the Azurian ship moved away from Saturn, Captain Carter and Admiral Nelson watched from the observation deck of the USS Vengeance. Do you think they'll return? Carter asked. Nelson nodded slowly. They'll be back, but the question remains, will our differences bring us together or push us apart? Carter looked out at the stars. I hope they see that our strength comes from more than just our weapons. The same determination that made us survivors also makes us explorers. In the vastness of space, the ships of 2 very different species moved apart. Each carried new understanding of the other. Each wondered what the future would bring when humans and Azurians met again.